Good morning. I'm here with Michael Adesioye. How are you, sir? You well?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
I'm blessed, my brother. Always in, always. Listen, we're here to talk about a historic venture that you've just seen over the line for your company. You're in the housing sector. You work for Dandor Properties. I'm going to let you talk about it because it's a significant housing deal worth the best part of £250 million that you've been involved in. It's not every day I get to talk to somebody like yourself who has seen a deal over the line with that's so big, to be quite honest with you. So without further ado, Michael, explain to the viewers and listeners what we're talking about.
Well, yeah, what it is, it's a development site in Leeds, which is on Hunslet Road. It consists of 928 flats. What really happened with this was that a guy that we do a fair bit of work with, he approached me saying that, look, there's something that he wants to talk to me about and that he needs to meet me in person. He can't actually share it via email or internet or anything like that. So I said, that's fine. So I met him in a hotel in central London. And it's so funny because literally 2 days before this, I had a £100 million deal fall through, which was a forward fund for a site in Romford, planning permission, I think, for 650 flats. So he met with me, sat down and basically explained everything to me. I simply said, I like this. This is very interesting to me. If there is a way that I can begin to start talking to the seller, then we can see how we may be able to orchestrate the deal. So in a nutshell, I brought my client to the table, negotiated and advised my client on the purchase. It took the best part of a year and got it delivered over the line for them. So within that region of Leeds, they are going to be quite a big player within that sector. And obviously with them putting themselves there with 928 flats, it really does obviously open up their geographical property ownership within that region. So I feel quite happy to have been able to have done that for them. And it's actually their biggest ever residential purchase in their history, being that they've been around for 138 years, the Guinness Partnership. So I'm really quite proud that I was able to be quite instrumental in being able to for them.
As you say, you lost out on the deal the day before that for 100 million, and then you get one that lands in your lap for 250 million. I mean, when one door closes, another one opens for true, Michael. It looks like in this particular case. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because what was really funny is that again with that particular deal there, the people came and sat with me. They said to me that they were looking for someone who would forward fund the project, which basically means that they want to retain the building, but they want somebody to come in and pay for the development and acquire the units from them turnkey. So I said, that's fine. So we had a meeting in my client's office. They turned up late, which really annoyed all of us, but ultimately they came. And, we went through the terms. I negotiated, how the parameters would work, etc. I got a call later that day to tell me that they've actually got terms from a US firm, which are far better than my one. So I obviously went back with a counter proposal. They said, sorry, but, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to go ahead with this. So obviously it happens. One door closes, another one opens. And then, as I said, somebody who we do a fair bit of work with approached us for this. And I said, look, so long as it's got legs, the numbers make sense, it's in the right location, we'll get it done. And we did get it done.
It's the biggest deal you've done in your career?
It is, yeah, it is. There was one that I was involved in not too long ago. Literally, it's maybe I can say, I think I can say it. It's the second most expensive house in this country. It's number 1 to 18 York Terrace East. It's a house which is it has 46 bedrooms. It's got planning permission for 26 flats, I believe. Now, I offered a 9-figure sum for this. Because of the parameters in the structure in which my client wants to transact, it was completely refused. I'm still at it. I'm still, trying to see if we can get something done with it. But again, it's just, every seller have their way in which they want to have something transacted. They'd rather have the money now as opposed to having part of the money now and then the rest of the money later, which is what my proposal is. So, that one will be quite big, being that it's, again, it's the second most expensive house in the country, and it has planning for 25 or 26 flats. So that's going to be quite interesting if we're able to get that done. There'll be a lot of news and noise being made about that for sure, definitely.
What's your job title?
I'm a land dealer.
How long how long have you? Sorry, go on. Sorry to cut
Yeah,
you.
no, I'm a land dealer and a land trader. So, we come into land daily. Just today alone, I've come into probably 26 different sites across the country, but this happens daily. People bring land to us because we have significant resources behind us via our clients to be able to bring people to the table to acquire the land, either subject to planning unconditionally, to take an entire block. I mean, one recent example was a site in Worthing at the moment. It's got planned for 378 flats. They approached me to bring somebody on board to take all of the units, and I offered £75 million to take all of the units. They said we need to be at 80, 85. We can't get to 80, 85. We can get to 75. So, there's very different things that we do. So when people ask me, what is it I do exactly? Am I an agent? Am I a speculator? I'm a land dealer. And I'm also known as the land king also, but, I leave that to others
You're known as the land king. Yeah. Okay, cool. What I want to know is how you got into the game, and when you break down the various strings of what you do, are you at 41 a product of all of these experiences, and now you've kind of shaped them into one role, or one role that's got a couple of strands? Or, I mean, how did you get into this? How did you fall into this position where you're negotiating one of the biggest deals of your career?
This is really so I started out basically going to auctions with flyers, trying to find people who would be remotely interested in off-market properties. It's a bit, I don't know how to describe it, but when you go to an auction and the auction is a place where everybody there is a buyer. And there's some people there that are traders. So I went there regularly with lots of leafleting to people saying that, you can acquire our services to help source properties for you on your behalf, because most people that buy properties, they do so unrepresented. Whereas every seller who is selling a property will engage an estate agent. They will be representing their best interest. You will never find a seller saying to an agent, go out there and get me the least amount of money possible. Whereas a buyer is put at an immediate disadvantage negotiating with an agent without a representative. So my thought was, if I'm able to actually entice people in engaging with me as a small person at that time, to represent their best interest in buying the property in terms of negotiating it, identifying it, and seeing the entire sale end to end, then it would probably be something that people would be attracted to. Unfortunately, it didn't quite go that way, but what I learned was persistence in what you believe in pays off dividends. So through just meeting different people and people within the Jewish community who I work with very, very closely, one person introduced me to one housing association. And from that one housing association, I now know probably 90% of the housing associations across this country, just through people knowing who we are, what we've done, and people who have spoken about us to others who have somewhat created this network by default of such substantial buyers that we're able to represent and progress deals with. So the way from where it all started to now, it has been quite a journey, and there's still lots to do. There's so much more to do at this point in time, but it has been quite a journey, to be honest.
Like what, Michael? What is there to do? And outline that very quickly for me, because I really want to drill down into when did you start? Because you've touched on the auctions and you kind of quickly transitioned into where you are now. But I get the feeling there's a distinct middle bit of learning. But what's left to do? What aspirations have you got in this game? Obviously, the big deal that's on the table you'd like to close.
Yeah.
What else?
So at the moment, right now, I'm not a developer. I have lots of clients that always say to me, I should get into developing. I've got lots around me in order to start building houses and flats. So what I've now jumped into is developing. So, sort of as a joint venture. So we've acquired a site in Sheffield, which is actually due to exchange today or tomorrow, which will have planning permission for 60 flats, which is a PD, permitted development, where you can convert the inside of the building. Now, that's one thing that we're doing, but ultimately going forward, what we want to do is to develop lots of houses and flats for ourselves. We've got more than enough outlets to pre-sell developments or sell them turnkey to people abroad or here, whether it be a pension fund, a housing association, or investors or ordinary people who may want a really nice place to live in, and also to travel the world and also explore how development takes place in different parts of different walks of life, because I know exactly how it works here. I know the good, the bad, the ugly, how things are done in the wrong way. People think that when they see a property that it's all glamorous and everything is nice, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, which I think when people see exactly what somebody like me does, being a trader and a dealer, I think they'll find it quite interesting. And it's something that I actually have aspiration into, wanting to explore how that is done across the world, as well as also trying to put into communities through what I do, positivity, encouragement, growth of young people who may want to get into development, who may not otherwise be exposed to the kind of world that I'm in, and somewhat enable them and encourage them to do the kind of thing I'm doing, or even better. So there's a lot that can be done and should be done. I will be trying to do that.
Back to the middle bit then. I can imagine there's been that process of learning wasn't always a positive one. What there are no negatives in my opinion, but what lessons, not losses, what lessons did you learn along the way that helped to shape you and sharpen your tools, sharpen who Michael is now?
Losing deals, losing money.
What's the most money you ever lost?
100 grand.
That must have hurt.
Yeah. But that was a venture that was overseas. Right. Which again, I am a gold getter type of person. So I ventured into places where, I wouldn't otherwise have gone to, just purely because there's an opportunity there. So with Brazil, there was an opportunity to go there and get into the low-cost housing sector, which is Minha Casa Minha Vida, my life, my home, my life, I think it is, where the government are providing credit facilities to low-income Brazilian families where they can have qualified buyers for property. So what our plan was to go in there, buy up land, develop it, and just literally sell it to the banks, and the banks would then in turn just sell it to their qualified customers. It didn't quite go like that because I didn't understand fully how the Brazilian system worked. And in hindsight, had it been that I fully understood it, then, I wouldn't have otherwise made that decision. So, I've learned that you have to lose, you have to fail in order to make yourself stronger, because there's just no way of you knowing the feeling of how to get to the next stage if you've not already, suffered a loss, or you have not, experienced any form of failure or rejection. And I felt that a lot, especially before all of this, when I was into acting and filmmaking and all of that kind of thing. So all of those rejections and failures that I've learned along the way has helped mold me today now into the person I am, and obviously into what it is that I aim to spill into as a result of everything that I'm doing now.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think it's important to kind of show the pitfalls, the potential pitfalls, as well as the big wins on a journey like yours. Because my next question, if there was a youngster watching this now and was saying to themselves, you know what, this is exactly the sort of thing I want to get into. I want to be like Michael. Do you get what I'm trying to say? How would you steer them into it? Obviously, there'd be a natural inclination and awareness of the property market, but beyond that, what would they need to do?
I'd say to them, and I have actually taken a few people in the kind of respect that you're talking. I'll give a little example of that in a minute. But what I would say is reading, and just reading and understanding what it is you want to do. Now, obviously, with property, you see all of these websites and whatever it is that people put online that you can actually get into property with no money. That's fine, you can do that, but ultimately those are people selling you something because they want to make a gain themselves. However they do, I don't know, I don't need to follow that, I don't follow any of that. What they need to do is basically just follow somebody with whom they know has done it or is doing it, and emulate what they're trying to do, basically. Now you can go into being an architect, you can go into, and being an architect somewhat falls into development because they're responsible for designing buildings. And then as a result of that, some of them do build their own stuff, or they just simply design on a commission and then take their money and go on to the next project. I would always say, look around you, look at the kind of builders that are around you, look at the house that you're in, Look at a few property programs that are available to watch online. There's lots of stuff that you can watch and learn from. And then it just depends on what it is that you want to go into, will then form which route or which aspect of property you'd like to get into. For me, as I said, I've just dropped into this role I'm in by sheer default. And it's just happened organically. And other things seem to just happen organically. So you might find yourself focusing on one thing, but then it just somewhat takes you into a different direction. And then other doors start to open and different opportunities start to arise.
Well, you seem to have taken advantage of the opportunities, even though they've just fallen into your lap, or you found yourself in this lane. You seem to be a quick learner and a good talker. So more power to you, more success to you. I guess the question that everybody who's watching this is going to want to know the answer to is: did you get commission on that $250 million deal, £50 million deal?
Well, the value of the deal is exactly £220 million.
Right.
The purchase of the land is another thing. I can't say what it is because I've told, I will never say what it is, but it's public information. You go on land registry, you can see it. You'll be able to see it, but you will not hear me say it. But yeah, we were paid quite nicely from that. Yes.
Okay. Indeed. Cool. Well, that's ultimately where there's a lot of youngsters at school. They're thinking about making money. That's what they want to. So they want to know. It's the questions they want to know the answers to, Michael.
Yeah.
They also want to know, I guess, and more educated people and older people and who may be thinking about their life at the moment, especially over the last 7 months. The pandemic, how did that impact on what you do? How has it changed your scope moving forward? Does it change your scope moving forward? Is there more opportunity, less opportunity? Talk to me.
Well, when the pandemic came, I got to tell you, 90% of our deals literally fell out of bed. Just like that, literally. Deals that were literally just about to exchange or go forward, literally just everything just stopped suddenly. I wasn't too worried about that because I know ultimately the housing market is one where housing is going to be needed. With this pandemic, it's only going to put things back. The government have got figures that they need to hit, with they're far beyond hitting at the moment. And also our clients have development programs. So what we found was, obviously during that time, nobody was doing anything. Everybody's waiting to see exactly which way the wind is going to blow, how the dust is going to settle with the way we come out of lockdown. And the simple announcement of the government saying that construction can still continue, I knew that would be the case because they have to provide housing. It's just a must. Even the planning policy has now been adjusted in order to try and speed things through the planning process so that people can actually get in their consent and get building. So, we're finding that there is, an immense amount of appetite to still buy. Everyone's still buying. People are still putting in offers. Sellers are, a bit jittery as to which way they should transact, whether it is to take a partner on in order to maximize the amount of money they'll get for the land, as opposed to selling it now at post-COVID-19 and after lockdown type prices, because the prices they were before lockdown are not the same as what they are now. So it's obviously getting sellers to understand exactly what the right price expectation would be, and equally buyers at the moment right now being very savvy as to how they buy. I mean, I have people that are buying blocks of flats, and so long as it doesn't have a 30% discount, they're not interested. But if it has a 30% discount, 25% discount, they'll buy all day long. So it is a buyer's market, especially those that have the cash and can move quickly. And if you're a seller, in your mind, with all of this uncertainty of lockdown, whether you're going to be pinned down, how long, if you're paying your mortgage or your whatever it is, you have to think to yourself, how am I going to end up? How are my tenants going to end up? Are they going to have a job at the end of it? Is the government going to help support me with my mortgage payments? Or do I just take this offer from these people, £10 million, £30 million, or £500,000, take the money, wipe my mouth and just move on and just close my eyes at the loss? So that's the kind of place we're in at the moment. Again, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Indeed.
I can see you really come alive when it comes to talking about those things there. Is that...
You know what it is? Because I'm a dealer. So yeah, when there's a deal to be done, and that the margin is there, what it is that we want to be able to also make sure that the seller gets what they need. But if they want someone that can buy this within 1 week or 4 days, then there's a price attributed to that. And that's exactly what people will expect. And as I said, the kind of people we deal with, are quite significant. Again, from a fund that can buy a whole, buildings in central London for 50, 60 million pounds, whatever it is, right down to someone that can buy a house for £200,000-300,000 and everything in between and far beyond the number I just quoted. So, the market is there for people to actually come in and buy stuff. But again, it's just buying it at the right price. And anybody wanting to buy anything now, my advice is, do a lot of scratching around, look in the auctions. If you have a way of being able to find properties that you can actually get for 20%, 15, 20, 25% below market value, then it would be worth buying, even if you don't intend on living in it, but buying, holding, and then once the market adjusts itself, you find yourself up by 20, 25% less what you may have paid for it previously.
Michael, the Land King, thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate it. It's been informative, and I'm hoping that people that are watching it find it educational. It's nice to see a black man of yourself in such a good position, able to inspire the next generation of people behind you as well. So keep doing what you're doing, sir. I applaud it. Thank you. Thank you.